Thank you very much for both your presentations. In last month, including the two of you, more than 160 professors signed an open letter to express your concerns about this bill. And I would quote that, refusing voter information cards as proof of address, the bill undermines the right to vote protected by Section 3 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a constitutional entitlement, so fundamental that it cannot be limited by the Charter's notwithstanding clause. Can you both comment on that statement, please, starting with you, Professor Smith?
And then the part about the voter identification cards are so fundamental?
You said that the refusing voter information cards as proof of address, the bill undermines the right to vote.
Well, the way I interpret it, and this is 100 and some people composing, the way I interpret that is that it was a limitation, right? It was a limitation on voters, certainly compared to what had been in the past, a limitation. And again, as I said in my opening remarks, I generally am opposed to limitations on the civic right to vote, unless there is some convincing reason given to me for altering my mind. And as I pointed also in my remarks, I did, with regard to enumeration, I did eventually come around to the continuing list. I'm not antediluvian, but I do think, unless there is a very good reason, to make it more difficult to vote, and we're not talking about middle-class people. Getting people to vote who aren't voting, or who have so many obstacles to overcome. And voting is a luxury, and it shouldn't be a luxury. It should be made easier for them, or not more difficult. And I keep thinking, I don't want to go on this, but I have grandchildren, granddaughters, and I can see them going into a poll in Lethbridge or in Calgary. They're not going to have any identification that we're talking about here. I just know that. They don't have the identification when I tell them to do it. So why are they going to do it then? I just think it's going to be difficult. And even though I can get them out to the poll once, if they don't get accepted, they'll never go back. And who's going to vouch? Who's going to swear that they know them? These are university students with 15, 18, 20,000 students in a university. And they're there in first or second year. So I find it very hard to understand the mechanics of this.
Professor Blais?
It's a tough call, and I've been thinking about it quite a bit. And it's because I'm extremely concerned with voter turnout and with inclusiveness. But I understand the government position, which is that there is always the possibility of fraud, and having to show some kind of identity is reasonable. So this is why I sort of rally to that position that yes, if necessary. We should ask for some identification, but only identification where there is no proof of address, because this is much more difficult. But I think it should be possible for about everyone to come up with some kind of identification without any address.
The other thing that you said in the letter was that you were not happy with how we had responded. The Senate committee had responded. You said we had not adequately responded to Bill C-23. Now, with the amendments that the minister has suggested, do you think that this answers some of your concerns?
Yeah, it's much improved, but it's still not the full loaf.
Professor Blais?
Well, I've indicated that this is much improved, and that, in my mind, you should make 2 additional amendments with respect to the Commission of Elections, and possibly also remove the ban on Elections Canada capacity to encourage voter turnout. This will be my 3 suggestions.